everyone. You're watching KTAL News Now. I'm your host, Anthony Mocklin, and today we're here to talk about youth football, specifically the dangers that are presented with it today. And this is amid a new report from Time Magazine, which highlights those dangers of high school versus NFL football. And here to talk with us today about those findings is the CEO of Schutt and VICIS Helmets, Jeremy Erspamer. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Anthony. Happy to be on.
So, what can you tell us about the findings from Time Magazine and the dangers that are prevalent today?
Yeah, I mean, I think they hit a good point in that article in Time Magazine, highlighting what basically is, when you go have the NFL and the resources the NFL has, the education through the NFL, NFLPA, right? The knowledge base and access to helmet and protective technology in general is just so great. As you get into the high school realm and on into youth football, right? The education in terms of helmet specific performance and protecting our youth at the high school and younger level just isn't as widespread, and I don't think as readily available to coaches, players, and parents to understand what's available to them in terms of protective helmet technology and how to go about selecting what's best for that child or that player, to protect their most valuable asset, which obviously is their brain.
And you mentioned the parents and coaches of trying to figure out what exactly is present and learning about those dangers. How can they be better educated on the subject?
Yeah, so one of the kind of guiding light at the high school and youth level in terms of providing consumer information for which helmets perform the best, which helmets protect their brains the best is Virginia Tech. They've had a testing lab now for several years, and they are the third party authority in terms of testing and rating these helmets. And a lot of people don't know that in some re-released ratings just about 2 months ago, one of the most popular single football helmet model on high school kids today, the Riddell Speed Flex, was actually ranked as a 3-star helmet, which is per Virginia Tech not recommended for use. And so for these players, these parents, these coaches, I think Virginia Tech is a great place to start. Right, understand what those ratings are, and then do your research in terms of the various models available to you, and really take that seriously, and also look at it each year. A stated life for a helmet is 10 years if properly reconditioned. But technology is moving faster than that, right? And so keeping up to speed on Virginia Tech and doing your research in terms of understanding what's available and the technology that's out there is really critical. And I think we as an industry, from the helmet manufacturers to the parents and coaches, we just need to do a better job of educating ourselves and the entire football playing community.
And a lot goes into the manufacturing process with these helmets. I guess, can you tell us a little bit about Schutt's process and what sort of research goes into making things safe for the players?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what we do is right. We wake up every day and live and breathe safety, primarily through helmets, but also shoulder pads and other protective equipment. But I can tell you the typical design uh, life cycle on a helmet is 2 to 3 years in development. And the latest technology, for instance, we've come out with a little bit earlier this year. It hit the NFL first, and then collegiate, and now it's available to high schools as well. But it's called the F7 Pro, which was developed using this 3D printed microlattice technology, which is really cutting edge in terms of energy absorption and being able to tune how that energy is absorbed in different parts of the helmet. Um, we've now launched the F7 Air, which is specifically aimed at the high school, which has a self-fitting air mechanism. Fit is such a key part in the overall helmet's performance. But this technology again is evolving rapidly. We believe that there's still plenty of room to continue to improve the performance of our products, and that's what we wake up every day trying to do.
Now, I know there's a lot of changes happening with player safety with the NFL most recently, for example, changing their kickoff rule. And then there's not really more of that adoption at the lower levels. Is there a reason why, like, there's a lot of pushback when it comes to that?
I think it's more challenging once you get to the high school level, and certainly then as you get into some of these youth leagues, because the NFL, right? There's obviously one governing body that can enact these rules and these changes more efficiently and more effectively. I think at the high school level, some of those different policies, some of those different rules can vary state to state. But I do think the NFHS, the National Federation of High Schools, is continuing to look at that. We work very closely with them. We're both actually headquartered here in Indianapolis. Um, but I think the the core, I think, challenge there again is the fact that these high schools so spread out, and we just need more of a guiding light, both at the high school level and at the youth level. And I think that starts with education on not only helmets and protective technology, but to your point, other rules of the game and how they affect player safety.
And according to the Time findings, there was a private school in New York who got rid of kickoffs entirely. And they said that the solution to essentially implementing these rules is at a league, like a smaller scale. Do you think more leagues like this or private Catholic school leagues or anything like that will start to take note and implement rules of their own?
I think it's certainly possible, and I think the fact that more attention is being brought to that at the high school level is very healthy for the sport. I don't proclaim to be a doctor and understand and don't have access to all the data that certainly the NFL and these other leagues have as they accumulate and understand how injuries are taking place. But I think the fact that that dialogue is going, and I think will continue to gain speed, I think just helps make sure we as an industry are educating ourselves, challenging ourselves as to how we can be, protect our kids in the sport that we all love. And so I think those types of things, I certainly see those expanding. To what level and in what manner, we'll have to see how that develops. But again, I think any dialogue surrounding how can we make this game safer is healthy and productive dialogue.
And when it comes to youth football, you were talking about how there's almost no regulation compared to bigger leagues like the NFL. Like, what can be done, I guess, to help both parents and coaches without that bigger picture helping them guide them with the rules and everything?
Yeah. Again, I think it starts with education, and I think we need more of a national narrative surrounding that. Um, that's one of the things we really preach internally. Of course, we think our own products are the best, but even more important than that is we just want people to understand what resources are available to them. We talked about Virginia Tech earlier. There's other studies that are out there. And I just think that those leagues, we on the youth side work specifically with AYF, which is American Youth Football. Um, we they're the largest single youth league in terms of pre-high school ages. And so we work directly with them in terms of helping them understand, and they're in the process of reviewing their policies, regulations, and I expect to see some changes as we move forward there. But again, it just needs to start with education, understanding what is available to people in terms of equipment, but also understanding what causes some of these injuries that we're seeing in the game. And I think we as an industry need to drive that to all levels, right? And I think on the high school level, that's the NFHS, and really starting there with educating coaches nationwide. Use the Virginia Tech ratings. In the youth leagues, it's organizations like AYF that can really reach a broad swath of players and parents.
And when it comes to CTE, there's this wide belief that it only usually affects NFL players, but it's, this repeated tackling and hitting that causes it, especially at the youth levels too, where, you're still seeing videos of them doing Oklahoma drills as early as like 12 years old. So like, I guess what if people knew and learned more about the effects of it, do you think that would, cause them to want to enact more change stronger?
I certainly do. Yeah, I mean, as much as it's talked about, right? CTE and concussions, which are two different things. As much as that's talked about at the NFL level, you're right. The further and broader you expand that conversation, there's less and less knowledge of it and how to prevent it. And I think CTE is a great example. We talk a lot, and there's been a lot of narrative around the Guardian Cap product, and does it prevent concussions? Does it not? I think you know that dialogue is, or that narrative is missing the mark. It's exactly as you said. From the moment you step on the field, if you're 8 years old, it's trying to absorb any of that impact energy, and you can do that through better practicing skills, right? There's no reason for kids to be running the Oklahoma drill. You can do that through better equipment, including helmets and helmet add-ons. I encourage people to do their research there. But it's an accumulation of impacts over time that I believe the scientists and medical experts have said lead to CTE. It's our job to lessen that impact, avoid that impact, first of all, where we can. And then secondarily, as again, we're playing a sport that we love that involves impact, to lessen that each time that happens, not just a one time concussive avoidance, but really lessening the amount of that impact over the life of the player.
And what can schools specifically be doing along with that education and informing the parents to better protect their players?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. At the high school level, it's tough. Budgets can be tight. Football helmets, football equipment is not cheap. But I would say that the biggest two things that I would encourage every high school coach in America to do your research, right? Look at the Virginia Tech ratings. And then we're here, our company has really gone out of our way to structure various programs to help schools afford these new helmets, these 5-star helmets. And we want to work with each one of those. We want every player in the best and most protective helmets, and so we want to work with high schools and youth leagues too to understand their budgets and try to get make sure they're able to secure these products. But I think it all starts with understanding exactly what is out there, what's available to you. The second thing is making sure the parents know. Again, high school budgets, public school budgets can be tight. If parents are aware of what's available to them in terms of better performing equipment, allow them to have the choice to go make that purchase, even if the school perhaps can't afford it in that year. So education and access to better performing helmets at the parental level, I think, are both key in trying to help keep the game safe.
And where did you say people can go to access these resources to learn more?
Yeah, again, I would highly recommend everybody go to the Virginia Tech helmet rating site. It rates youth football helmets, it rates high school football helmets, and then you'll see a variety of other sports on there. There's ice hockey, lacrosse, some others. So it's a wealth of knowledge for parents and coaches alike. They also talk about the helmet add-ons like the Guardian Cap and what their research has shown there. So for me, I would recommend that's your first stop. You can go to our websites, Schutt.com and VICIS.com, where we also have plenty of technical information about our products, how they perform, what they can do to keep your kids safe. But again, I think Virginia Tech is the best place for everyone to start. It's a non-biased third party that really has a lot of history and not only ranks the helmets, but recommends that the 5 and 4 star categories are the ones for use.
And is there anything that I didn't ask you today that you wanted to touch a little bit more on?
No, I would tell you we in kind of your neck of the woods a little bit earlier this year, as I was talking about programs we put together for high schools. We did one for Captain Shreve, and the Captain Shreve Gators are now fully decked out in brand new VICIS 02 helmets, which sit at the very top of Virginia Tech rankings, and so we've done a little bit of that close to home for you, but it's the type of program that we're trying to work with across the nation, and really, again, it's a sport we all love. Personally, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that's what I'm doing, watching football, and we just want to make sure we're taking care of the future of the game.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. That was really insightful information that you provided. So,
Appreciate it, Anthony.
and if you haven't yet, be sure to visit ktalnews.com, which is where you can get all of your local breaking and trending stories like this one. And be sure to tune in to KTAL News Now, which streams every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. But for now, I'm Anthony Mocklin, and thank you for joining us.